I am David Tomsic. It's June 19th, 2024. Thank you for being available on this last minute live stream. Wow, it's been a crazy week. The question we're going to pose today is America kind of matching up to the fall of the Roman Empire? And I think the answer to that question is that we are. But before we get into that question, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Please watch the video to the end. Please help us grow this channel throughout the country and around the world. We have a message that truth matters, and it does. Okay, so is the Roman Empire that fell apart, is the American Empire similar? Are we heading down the same rocky and destructive path? Well, let's take a look, first of all, at some of the key highlights of the Roman Empire. Now, that was a pretty big empire. Powerful, really powerful. And I think with those of us who have tried to, follow our history throughout here from the very beginning of our country, we had some of the same things we thought were going to be helpful to people. Powerful empire. We were a Christian empire, and we were, I'm not sure that anybody really matched us in modern time. And I think that probably never will again. Maybe a group of countries that get into this will, hopefully not be end up the same fate as we do. Okay? So what's happened here? American Empire is corrupt. It's broke, immoral, badly led by leaders that have sort of been bought and paid for by the status quo, foreign empires, foreign countries, nations, bought and paid for by pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, any other special interest group you can imagine. They pretty much bought and paid for. Thank you, Tom and Renee. I see. Glad you're watching today. We also are bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex. Wow. Okay, so we have some issues. What's happened to Rome? Okay, Rome, debasement of currency, failing economy, check. Endless wars, check. Government corruption, check. Social and cultural decay, immorality, check. Rise of the Eastern Empire, check. And it's very important to remember that when we get to that. Okay, so pound for pound, we're in the same sinking ship they were. People with bilge pumps are trying to pump it out. The Federal Reserve is trying to do that. We're bankrupt and broke, and we're buying every piece of debt they can find, printing every amount of money needed to keep the ship on top of the water. But that's not going to fix it. Debt never fixes it. Rome started using gold coins, of course, and then at the end it was like barely any gold in the coin. They hired mercenaries to fight their wars. I just heard that the National Defense Authorization Act, that majesty of a legislation that was grotesquely passed, after 9/11, just changed some wording in the reappropriations of it, that they want to now reinstate the draft, 18 to 26, I believe, including women, including the female parts of our species, and there are two. Okay, well, that's because we're going to war. We don't have enough soldiers. And, you said, you heard me right. We're going to war. And there's no way around that. Now, whether we're at DEFCON 2 or DEFCON 1, if you've watched War Games with Matthew Broderick, you'll remember that because of the computer glitch, they went to DEFCON 1, I believe, which is the highest state of preparedness, ready to launch. And they were ready to launch. We're pretty much going to be there, if not there. We're closing in on it. Okay? What makes it worse is we have allowed, other than the president, we've allowed other groups to take control of our government. The president has less and less powers every time we turn around. A lot of this was done by the Democrats who were trying to trump Donald Trump back in the day and not give him any authority. The problem is those laws they've passed will also hurt their own presidents, and it has. We're now letting the Federal Reserve sort of dictate foreign policy, tariffs. As you may or may not know, people, China has been tariffed by the United States again. Now, listen, tariffs hurt the American people as much as anything because we don't make enough products here to supply American families with what they need. And what we do supply here, we can't afford anyway. So these folks that are cheering on tariffs, remember, most of the stuff comes from China. It's going a lot more expensive, okay? Including your pharmaceuticals. Wake up. We're biting our nose off to spite our face, okay? So we're in a war with China. It's a tariff war right now. It's going to heat up. We're in a war with Russia. Yeah, we're in a war with Russia. We launched missiles, or Ukraine launched, our missiles with our technicians shooting them with our coordinates into Russia. We're at war, people. Yeah. Okay, what they shot at last week, I believe it was last week. I've been gone so long here, I don't remember what week it is. They shot at a Russian radar installation that was designed to pick up long-range ballistic missiles, nuclear weapons, basically, fired at Russia. This radar would pick up, give them early detection. And Ukraine shot at that. Now, generally speaking, why wouldn't you shoot at targets that, and that's kind of the quid pro quo of this, you're going to shoot at targets that are part of the battle, not targets that aren't. And why would they, or why would we tell them, no, why would we, because we were targeting and pushing the buttons, fire at these installations? Okay, so let me run this down for you. DEFCON 1 people. The Russians, as we do, now have a first strike go code to shoot first no matter what happens with the other group, which means in the past, no one would shoot unless the other person fired weapons first. So if you fired your nuclear weapons from North Korea, the United States wouldn't fire theirs until they had a confirmation that those weapons were fired from North Korea. That's gone now. What we do now is we can shoot first anytime, and they will too. So if you're the Russians and you just landed missiles to try to destroy your long-range radar to pick up these said nuclear weapons, wouldn't you suspect something? And they do. Wouldn't you think, well, are they trying to blind us so we don't see their first strike? So here's the logic. Americans, wake up. I'm digressing here. Here's the logic. Why won't they then just shoot first? They can say, let's launch first because that's the best way. They're going to fire at us anyway. We don't know what they're planning, but they wouldn't shoot at or fire missiles at our long-range detection radar unless they were up to something. Do you see how this game's played? I'm not surprised right now if tomorrow I heard New York City was gone or Washington, D.C. was gone. That's how bad it really is. You awake yet? Meanwhile, our president and chief was in Europe for the G7 summit. The most powerful nations, the G7. and they were watching a skydiver with a military skydiver parachute in. And of course, the whole crew was there, those real winners from Europe. And Joe Biden all of a sudden wanders off into the field. Nobody paid attention except, I believe it was the Italian prime minister went over and she led him back to the fold. Of course, his handlers said, well, he was looking at something more special out there in the middle of that field. This is bad. And of course, what are these people thinking? What are Russia, China, you name it, all the other countries we are at war with think when they see this guy bumbling around, falling up steps? I'm not making fun. Listen, dementia is a terrible thing. And those that had family or have family fighting that, my prayers are with you, because it has to be difficult and painful. But it's wrong to use this guy who I'm not, again, I'm a political atheist, people. Those of you that don't know, David Tomsik's a political atheist. Okay? Hi, Ashley. I'm glad you can join me. Ashley from our video channel, A Conversation with Ashley and David, just checked in on the chat. Thank you for joining in, Ashley. I'm glad you can make it. You're there with Renee and Tom and some other folks. So we're at a point now, people, where maybe you don't care you get blown up by a nuclear weapon. I have a problem with it. Even if this city, Pittsburgh, is not hit, I have a problem with the whole issue behind or what happens after, okay? I really do have a problem with getting nuked when it was unnecessary to get nuked. I digress. So Biden stumbles. Everybody's looking at this guy. They see a weak guy. Now, you know, our country's pretty much being run by the State Department, Defense Department, the handlers behind the scenes, special interest groups, as I mentioned. We should be proud. Meanwhile, we are in a situation where in the war in Russia and between Russia and Ukraine is escalating. And Ukraine, from my reports I get from the people I contact and have contacts with on the battlefield that do the geo-mapping of the war, there are more and more breakthroughs throughout the front lines. The Russians are moving steadily north and northwest. Ukrainian resistance is futile, so to speak. So how do we combat this here in the United States? How do we get people to understand we don't want to be at war? We don't want a nuclear bomb dropped on us. We don't want to draft our young women into a war because we need to go to war. We don't need to go to war. But, you know, how do we get their attention? And here's the answer. You can't. Now, many of you are Donald Trump fans. And as I said, I'm a political atheist. So I'm not a supporter of really of any of these people. And yes, I will vote this year. And I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for because that's my opinion when I get into that booth, whatever that booth's called. So I do know Joe Kennedy's running, and I kind of like Joe. I liked his dad. Now, many of you haven't read a lot of history on or his uncle. His uncle was, of course, President John F. Kennedy. The guy was killed for standing up to the deep state, standing up to the CIA, standing up to the war machine, standing up to the military-industrial complex. Should I go on? Yeah, he had a thing for Marilyn Monroe, but wow, she was hot. I'm not condoning. I'm just saying, wow. Yeah. So yeah, he had his things, but as a president, he was a patriot. He believed in this country. He wanted freedom. He wanted economic stability. He didn't want our young men and women go to the war. But guess what? What happened to him? Boom, 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 however many shots. I was a conspiracy buff, and I read every book I could find on the Kennedy assassination. Of course, now, if you don't realize that he was assassinated by people, elements within our government, then you can buy some of that swampland that I tried to sell this last Saturday when I spoke at the Canonsburg Frank Sarris Public Library. No one took me up on it, but if you believe stuff like that, you need this swampland off the coast somewhere in Florida or Dubai. I don't know. Pay me now. I'll give you the coordinates later. I digressed there. Sorry. So we're in a crossroads, and I've used this before. Of course, the crossroads, the one crossroad has trees and has been bombed out. So it'd be difficult to get across that road. So we're really only heading one direction, and that's down. We're heading the way of Rome. If you think this country is not immoral, those of you that are younger watching this, and you think half that crap they put on television is not immoral garbage crap, I'm sorry. We're in a position now that we've destroyed our country. Rome destroyed their country, their empire. Our empire is doomed. Now, I was told, and I'm going to lighten up on other videos, I promise. I'm digressing. I was told I'm a little bit negative because these people, I'm negative and they just can't take it. Everything's going to be fine. Donald Trump's going to fix everything in 6 months or less. Gee, listen, people, do you hear this? I'm sorry. Get mad at me all you want. Everybody has these grandiose plans. They're going to stop the border invasion. Listen, I just watched a video. J.J. Carroll, I believe his name, former border administration, went all the way almost to the top. Very authoritative. Had a lot of information. Told the story of how bad it really is, and how no matter what you do now, there's 20, 30, 40, you don't know how many million are already in this country. Many single military-aged males, most in very good shape. And he mentioned how they come across in groups and they split up and go into 3 and 4 different cities. Wonder why. Now, Donald Trump, and as any president, what can he really do? Well, he can send people, National Guard here and there. These people already infiltrated our cities. They already have cache of weapons that was placed there that the FBI, back in the Obama days, the FBI director told everybody that there was cache of weapons everywhere, that there were cells in this country everywhere, and we're lucky we can catch the Keystone, like the Keystone cops catch the most generalized criminal that comes across raping people. These people have been getting away with this for years now. There's no turning back, and I think people want this this belief. They hate to feel negative. They hate to be realizing that, yeah, there's nothing I can do. I better start thinking on my own here because trouble's coming down the pike. Remember there's trouble right here in River City. Well, there's trouble here in America, and people just look at you and they go, well, you're negative. You can't be that way because you're negative. Well, if I'm positive, then you won't worry about it. Everything's fine. That guy knocking at your door that raped 300 or 400 people, he's okay. Don't worry about him. Right? That group of gang members that now have military-grade weapons, roaming the city streets, don't worry about it. Somebody will take care of them. Really? I think I come on here and I have a lot of information. I was going to talk a little economy today too. I got digressed into the border now. The war, the 5 wars. Who knows how many wars we want to be in? By the way, North Korea and Russia just signed a military agreement to defend each other. It doesn't happen that often with that type of defense pacts, but they have. So you got these groups building these cooperations, and what do? We got the European gang, little leaders that no one likes, because if you've been following the news like I do, you realize that there were elections in quite a few countries in Europe, and all the leaders are in power now got pummeled. Other parties started taking seats, which means that they're going to probably have to have general elections to maybe elect new prime ministers, because over there, you don't have two parties like you have here. Oh, the uniparty. Those of you that love all this stuff, that think it's just they're the greatest people. That's why you're in the hole you're in. They sold you out. Every one of them. Well, maybe minus two or three. 2 or 3 out of how many? There's 50 senators. You might have one there, 2 maybe. The House, I don't know how many you have. That they all sold you out. They're all rich. You're not rich. Did you get rich off of them? Yes, Tammy, you're right. World War III possibly is on the way. And it's inevitable. No one likes that word either. It's like unprecedented. It's a powerful word. Unprecedented. Never before seen. Okay? Inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen one way or the other. Everybody wants a happy ending. Everybody wants to get their butts powdered and feel good about it. Things are going to be okay with a new president. Everything's going to change. Well, some things might. I'm sure if somebody's really has their eye on the prize and understands some people don't. I don't know that any of them really do. Now, Joe Kennedy, I believe, does a little bit. I've listened to him, and I think he has an understanding, except he'll never get elected because they'll never let someone like him in either. That's why this political system's broken. Wow, it's broken. And those of you that don't get that think there's some quick fix to everything, 6 months or less. Remember the Name That Tune? There was a show, Name That Tune. And each contestant would say they can name a tune in 2 notes. In this case, I can solve all the world's problem in 6 months. I'll solve it in 5. I'll solve it in 3. Good luck with that, because nothing is as simple and cut and dry as you think. The world has changed, and this is what I want to leave you with here today, besides the economy's in deep doo-doo. Nobody gets, and I mentioned this at a meeting I was just at, nobody understands or wants to even care about the rest of the globe. Spin the globe, and everybody just looks at points of the United States. We're the indispensable people, according to Madeleine Albright, secretary. I think she was an ambassador. She would say we're indispensable people. The world needs America. Well, if you looked at what just happened, the BRICS nations, and I talk about this a lot, and people roll your eyes all you want. You're going to be a third world country. You're living in one headed for a third world country status here sooner or later. Roll your eyes all you want. And go to your movie and whatever it is you're doing tonight, go out to dinner and spend $80 for 2 people. And smile about it, because it's okay. Don't tell me any bad news. Well, the world's changing. The BRICS nations, and I'll say them again because I know some of you going, who? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and basically South Africa, plus now Saudi Arabia, Arab Emirates. There's I believe, Turkey wants to get involved. That's a NATO member. Turkey wants to be on the list. There's 53 more nations want to join. 83 altogether have shown interest in joining this block of nations. Meanwhile, we have us and the European gang. They're so awesome out there. They're broke, bankrupt, immoral. Go down the list of Europe. But France is so nice. I want to go to see France. Right now, I wouldn't go to France, because France threatened Russia about 6 times. They're going to send troops. They're going to send this. They're going to send that. So guess what? If we're talking about nuclear war, that might be the first one to go. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I'd keep my head down. You start talking tough, you better back it up. French weapons from World War II are still on sale, never before used. Did I say that? Yeah, I did say it. I went out on a limb here. I said it. Listen, I just want to touch base with the economy. Stock market at record highs. Record highs. A couple of things you need to know about the stock market, because I hear it here on our local radio station. Every hour or news hour, they talk about the stock market. They mention the Dow Industrial Average is up. And what they don't really understand is their audience, the people in our county that listens to these wackos, don't realize that 93% of the stock's owned by less than 10% of the people. So what do you care about the stock market? It's not connected to Main Street. The news on Main Street's bad. Production down. Consumers are buying less. Food is at record highs. Unemployment's going up. I can go down the list, but the stock market's at record highs. Listen, you go and listen to that good news and you feel good about yourself. Everything's okay. Wow. Listen, a lot of folks don't like, doom porn, as they used to call people like us. Doom porn. Hey, listen, I've had some very good videos that aren't doom porn. Talked about Bigfoot, UFOs, spiritual warfare. We had a lot of things we did outside of telling some other things that are sometimes hard to hear. Truth usually is if you're trying to fight against it. And this whole country is fighting against the truth. That's why on those news and TV shows, everything contradicts the reality. Everything contradicts the truth. Those script readers you all watch, CNN, CNBC, yeah, Fox, all those people. Newsmax is the next one. They always tell the truth. I've watched. Yeah, some of it's good, but some of it's right-wing extremist, hopeful thinking as well. See, they think there's some easy fix. It's like they got a little tweaking screwdriver, and you go in and someone just has to twist common sense. You need a business sense to fix this. Just fix it. It's easy. No one wants to do it. They don't understand. They do. See, here's the thing you should fear. We're seeing our country destroyed, not by incompetency and any of this stuff people think. I know people love to talk about Biden falling over himself and such, and I feel bad for the guy because, like I said, dementia is terrible. But he's not behind all that. The system itself, the deep state, those involved in running the country year after year after year, no matter who the president is, they've been influenced by, let's say, some not so good people, the elites of the elite. Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. Take it to the bank. And they have done this on purpose. This isn't an accident or just incompetence. I've told a story, and I'll tell the story again. Running out of time, but I'll do it because I care. And this is a true I digress. Right, Ashley? Anyway, I think from I think it was 1963, and I've said this story, two college professors, Cloward and Piven, I believe the two names. One was a woman, one was a man. I forget their first names. I don't have it in front of me. They came up with a plan of how to destroy America. They were definitely communists. And this isn't all just about communism. Sometimes people use that word way too much too. The communism is just a catchword. The elites aren't communists. They're beyond that. But I digress there. And they had a 9-point plan. I forget how many, but the one big one was the way to destroy America is to flood it with what we now call illegal immigrants so that it collapses the system, that it bankrupts the government, it floods the social system so much that the government can't pay for it and let it falls apart. And, of course, there were other points to this. But does that sound like a plan to you by somebody who thought a lot about it? No, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't incompetence. You're seeing the destruction of America because it was a planned destruction of America. Listen, that's all the time I have. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Keep an eye out. We've got some more videos coming down the pike. The Tom Sig Analysis is here because Truth matters. God bless you, and I'll see you next time on the favorite channel of all, the Tom Sig Analysis. Good night.